My name is Jennifer Tate. I am the Lead Assistive Technology Specialist in Guilford County Schools. This presentation is entitled Bridges Not Walls, Building Relationships for Effective IEP Meetings. As a 20-year veteran of exceptional children's services in the public school system, I have written, led, or participated in hundreds, if not thousands, of IEP meetings. What I can tell you is that a text I once read as part of a graduate school course requirement entitled Bridges Not Walls is one of the most impactful texts from my education in preparing me for IEP meetings and working with families effectively. At the time, I did not understand the relevance nor the impact that text would have on my career. Bridges Not Walls, a book about interpersonal communication by Jon Stewart, suggests that the quality of life is proportionate to the quality of one's communication. He goes on to state that communication is a person-building activity. Quality communication and person-building activities are foundational components for effective IEP meetings. IEPs must be viewed as working, functional documents, and IEPs cannot be the sole responsibility of the special educator to write, deliver, and implement. They are but one member of the IEP team. It is critical that we don't just go through the motions as members of the IEP team, but actively participate in the meeting and the discussions. Yes, IEPs are mandatory in public schools, as put forth by the IDEA and the provision of FAPE. But more than that, they are tools for supporting personalized education for students with exceptionalities. They create a path or a plan for outlining what a student needs and how we are going to provide it. It may sound obvious and it may go without saying, but we must come to the table with positivity. No one has time for another meeting. No one is likely excited to be there, and no one needs another piece of paper to read or complete. But the fact remains that we must. We have the choice and the power to set the tone and the functionality of the document and the meeting. A positive meeting will always go smoother. Horatio Sanchez, CEO of Resiliency Incorporated and recent speaker and educational consultant at the Innovative Schools Conference, helps schools apply neuroscience to improve educational outcomes. He states that 4 positive interactions impact productivity positively, but only 3 negative interactions impact productivity negatively. Furthermore, our bodies chemically react before we consciously can even process the positivity or the negativity. IEP meetings then provide the opportunity to foster positive family relationships, which in turn benefit other school interactions with families. IEPs should focus on student strengths. Don't just stress and discuss the negative. IEPs should be collaborative in nature, not just the voice of the case manager or EC teacher. IEPs should use smart, individualized goals. They should also give a complete picture of the student's needs, not just academic participation, but also things like transition concerns, vocational needs, assistive technology, and consideration for extended school year. IEPs should give students and parents a voice. This is their chance to have a say in their education. IEPs should be flexible, working documents that change and adapt with student growth. Having quality communication with families means regular correspondence in addition to the mandated progress notes. It means no surprises. We should avoid jargon and acronyms, which can often be difficult to understand. When parents and families feel isolated or alienated from the very beginning of the meeting, those negative interactions have a negative impact on the productivity of our IEP meetings. It is also critically important to remember that families come to the IEP table with a vast variety of experiences, both good and bad, with the educational system, and potentially with personal experience with special education. Let's take a look at the IEP meeting format itself. When we initiate the meeting, it is best to clearly establish the purpose and to share the agenda. Again, no surprises. Be sure to share school goals for the meeting and encourage the family to share their goals as well. This is the opportunity for parents to have a voice. Be sure to make introductions. It may even be necessary to consider seating arrangements and to clearly establish roles. Remember, the IEP is our opportunity for positivity and for person-building outcomes. As we establish roles, it's necessary to acknowledge who the required participants in the IEP meeting are. Required members are parents, students, EC teachers, specialists such as speech-language pathologists or occupational therapists, a general education teacher, and the LEA or administrator that represents the local education agency. These active participants are not optional. What then is your role and responsibility as the LEA at an IEP meeting? Remember, you are not just a required member, but should be an effective and active participant, one who is understanding of the process so that you may recognize errors that come with very real consequences should they not be addressed and discussed. The IEP is a legal document, and again, it's our opportunity to outline a path for our students with exceptional learning needs. We must then discuss strengths and areas for growth. Oftentimes, parents of students with IEPs hear only negative news from schools and service providers. They constantly hear what their child can't do, what their child isn't doing, what negative behaviors they are demonstrating. Remember, it takes more positive comments to build relationships and impact productivity positively than it does negative ones. This is our chance to discuss their strengths and to outline what our students are doing and what they are capable of doing, and to discuss the strategies and tools for our path going forward. In the review of progress, we should encourage all team members to actively participate and share insight, to discuss progress and to review strategies used in our instruction. We should include a discussion of what is needed to meet these goals. Where will these services take place? How often will students receive these services? Will they be removed from their typically developing peers? And if so, how often and at what time? How and when will progress be shared? And what tests will be administered and with what accommodations? As it becomes time to discuss the creation of new goals for the next year's IEP, we should continue to make our goals SMART goals. SMART stands for a specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. As an LEA, you want to make sure that these 5 key components are represented in your students' IEPs. A goal must be specific, not just to obtain developmentally appropriate language skills or 4th grade math skills. We must be able to identify the skill that we are working on. Past tense verbs, the sound R in words, reading CVC words, writing a paragraph with 4 sentences, 2-digit addition or subtraction. A goal must also be measurable. How will we know that they have made progress? Will they say the R sound 8 out of 10 times in words? Will they make 90% accuracy on a test of 10 math problems given once a week? Will they read 30 CVC words with no more than 2 errors? The goal must also be attainable within the life of the IEP. We are not writing goals for graduation, but goals that can be obtained within 1 year. If we make progress and meet those goals, we can always revisit the IEP. Remember, it's a flexible working document. Our goals must also be relevant to the student and his or her needs. We should not have generic IEP goals. Every student with an IEP should not have the same goals, nor should a student have the same goals from 1 year to the next. If they do, either the IEP is not functional, or the strategy's setting or goal is not relevant. Finally, our goals must be time-bound. We need to be able to document growth that is measurable and attainable within the life of the IEP. There are additional areas that must be addressed in the IEP and must be discussed, not simply skimmed over or ignored. Things like whether the student requires assistive technology, is a candidate for extended school year, or requires any additional training or support are some areas that must be discussed as a team. We are also legally bound to share a copy of parents' rights with the families. We must also document and complete what is called a prior written notice. On the prior written notice, we must discuss what was considered, what was decided, what was rejected, and why. The prior written notice is a critical document to record the decisions and any relevant rejections the team made. Following the meeting, we should continue to maintain and build positive relationships. This means continuing with quality communication and person-building activities. The IEP should only be one component of the working relationship with a family. Regular communication that varies according to families' needs, such as texts, emails, phone calls, conferences, team newsletters, are all examples of ways to maintain quality communication and to continue to make positive connections with families. Remember to communicate the positive, not just the negative. How can you maintain quality working relationships with families? Are there activities that you can do as an LEA for your school? Are there parent information nights or opportunities for families to be active participants in your school that don't always require financial contributions? Are there ways to create positive interactions in order to increase productivity of students and families as active participants in education? Remember, we are building bridges, not walls. When we work together with quality communication that is clear and concise, we are able to have effective IEP meetings while building and maintaining relationships that benefit us all.